Hey guys, it is Terensu here / Lee Chaolan in game. As you can see, a lot of people in the SMT Imagine clan I'm in have messaged me asking, is this data ticket any good? Is this gear good? How should I use this? Should I keep this? How does this work? So I thought I would create a brief video on data tickets, spiritual mixing, and builds to some extent to levy some of these questions and help you guys out who are new to the game, especially since SMT Imagine just launched a gigantic update yesterday on the Reimagine server, which improves the game greatly. So I figured more of you would be coming around to play. But anyway, without further ado, let's talk a little bit about data tickets, gear, and spiritual mixing. So one of the questions I get a lot, like I said, was people come up with a data ticket. I put some in my inventory here. And they say, Lee, is this data ticket any good? Should I keep this? Should I sell it? How much is it for? Well, the answer to that question, like so many things in this game, is it depends on what your build is, where your gear is at that moment. What do you need? What do you lack? What are you still looking for? Yes, there will be some items and data tickets that you will almost always want to use despite your build. For example, Masa weapons, particularly the Masa rifle here if you're a gunner, or perhaps the True Weiss set, which I'm using here as my top and pants. You'll always want to work those certain sets into your build. However, the one thing that you have to know about in SMT Imagine is that sets aren't so much about the piece of gear itself, but whatever the slots are. So for example, let's take a look at my True Weiss top that I mentioned earlier. If you look, you have a features tab and a set bonus tab. Now the community has taken to calling these S1 for the set bonus here, S2 for basic features, and S3 for characteristics. Now, when you think about gear in SMT Imagine, you can't just think about the gear itself. You have to think of it in terms of these slots. S1, S2, and S3. And the reason being is this game has something called spiritual mixing or spiritual infusion. So if you come over here, you'll see all these people gathered around this masterly dwarf. This dwarf NPC allows an SIer or spiritual mixer to perform spiritual infusing. Well, what is spiritual infusing? So do you see in my inventory how all of my gear pieces have this little purple sword plus symbol? That means that they've been spiritually mixed. Spiritual mixing is the core of SMT Imagine's gear system. So if you're ever in a run with somebody and they're wiping entire rooms with like erosion hex or unending infinite light or whatever skill it is, and then you get that same skill and use it and the room doesn't die and you wonder, what do I lack? You know, I'm fully geared, why is it not happening? Well, they could be digied, which is another video in itself. Or it could be the fact that they have spiritually mixed their gear better than you. So for example, let's take a look at my Lost Country set here. Lost Country is currently one of the best sets in game because if you get the whole set, you're granted not only 20% limit break chance, but 10% final crit. Alright, and we can talk about what those mean later. Just know that limit break chance and final crit are two extremely valuable commodities in the SMT Imagine world. So like I said, this set here, these 4 items, this earrings, this ring, this necklace, and this talisman, make up what we call the Lost Country set. And so the S1 on the Lost Country set is this limit break chance and final crit here. By wearing all of these items, I get this bonus. You see how these all have the same thing attached to them? Right, this bonus is inexplicably tied to this S1, which is a part of this set. But you can see I've got limit break chance 10 here in the S2, and limit break power plus 30 here in the S3. Well, what if I told you that didn't originally come with this item? I don't recall off the top of my head, but the talisman S1 and S2 and S3, I'm sorry, the S1 is always on it, but the S2 and S3 for the Lost Country set are something probably crappy if I had to guess. It's probably something bad. Generally in SMT Imagine, any good set bonus is going to be accompanied by 2 mediocre features and characteristics. So you'll get a good S1, but you'll have kind of a mediocre S2 and S3. So what I have done is spiritually mixed this S1 of this Lost Country set together with S2 and S3 from other gear pieces to get a better overall piece of gear, because you get to use all 3 of the bonuses now. So if you go over here to this Enhancements tab, you can see Spiritual Infusion, Basic Features, Limit Break Amulet Gold, Characteristics, Limit Break Amulet Platinum. So what that means is I've taken a Limit Break Amulet Gold, and I've had a Spiritual Mixer take the basic features off of it and put it here on the Lost Country. And I did the same thing with the characteristics, except I used a Limit Break Amulet Platinum. So now I have the S2 and S3 of these 2 items on this Lost Country set, which has this S1. So to recap, all of these items have an S1, which is shared, because you have to wear them all together to activate it. But the S2 and 3 for each of these items is separate. So what I've done is I've kept the S1, and then I went and found other gear pieces that gave me better bonuses in the S2 and the S3, and had a spiritual mixer move them onto this piece of gear. I've done this for every piece of gear in my inventory. And you say, okay, what should I spiritual mix into each of my items? Well, I'm glad you asked. When I taught karate many years ago, inevitably the sensei would teach a certain technique, and they would say, okay, somebody gets you in a bear hug, you do this. And inevitably somebody would ask, well, what if they get me in a bear hug from this angle? What if they do it from this angle? What if they do this? What if they do that? And at that point he would stop and say, it depends on the situation, right? What we're trying to learn is a set of ideals and principles that carry over to karate in general, not a case-by-case basis. And you kind of have to approach your gear in SMT Imagine this way. What I mean by this is there are so many items and data tickets in this game that all do different things that you would go mad if you tried to recognize all of them. What you need to do is learn what a few specific tickets are, valuable items like maybe True Weiss, Lost Country, Symbol Destruction Set, Godspeed Shoes, those type of things. You need to identify those because those are things everybody is going to want and need in their build. However, when you're looking at tickets that you get from fortune card draws and you get from runs and you buy in the bazaar and that type of thing, the way you need to approach it is on a case-by-case situation depending on what you're trying to do. So for example, my character is a gunner. I typically use some mix of magic bullet and rapid, probably more rapid these days. And so I'm interested in speed and long range. Those are 2 very important stats to a gunner, right? So if you take a look here, my Masa rifle, it gives me long range plus 100. It gives me critical plus 99. It gives me cooldown minus 50. It gives me final crit correction plus 5. When I look at that, I get very excited because those are excellent stats for a gunner. Now, the Masa sword, for example, may give magic plus 108 or close range plus 108. So is that a stat I would be interested in? No, it's not. So first off, when you play this game, you have to first identify what kind of build you want. If you're a gunner, you're mainly after long range and speed. If you're a mage, you're after magic and intelligence. If you're after a melee build, you need close range damage, physical damage, vitality for your attacks, right? So that's kind of the first thing I'm looking at when I look at new gear to determine if I need it or not. And I'm not just looking at the gear itself, I'm looking at the gear in terms of slots. So for example, right now, let's open one of these data tickets. This is Pyrojack Moving Hat. And let's act like we're going to exchange. You can actually preview an item before you hit yes. The ticket is not used until you hit yes, but I can still look at this item. And so when I look at this item, this is in order. The stats that appear down here are in the order they appear. So you've got your S2 right there at the top. And this says it gives close range, long range, and spell damage plus 3%. And you get long range, close range, and spell damage taken minus 3% and 5% fire boost. So if I've never seen this ticket before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and I'm going to make a note of what this item gives me. So it gives me plus 3% general damage and minus 3% damage reduction, okay? That's a hat. So let's go over to my hat. I'm currently using this Cuddly Kuroi that I've done spiritual mixing on. Well, it says here that my S2 gives me critical plus 20, close range plus 5, long range plus 5, spell plus 5, and 20% limit break power, which is extremely important. So when I look at that ticket and I say, this ticket only gives me plus 3% here. I've got plus 5 and I've got limit break power. I know that I don't need that S2. Well, while we're at it, what is my S3? 20% limit break power, close range damage, long range damage, magic damage, and crit plus 10. What was the ticket going to offer me? Its S3 is experience points earned plus 25% to all party members. It gives me no stat bonuses. So while I might want that experience bonus somewhere down the line, compared to what I have now for an actual gameplay set and not a grinding set, this is inherently superior, right? So this is kind of how you have to approach your gear. You need to say, what do I have so far? What are my set bonuses? What am I relying on for these big chunky S1 boost? And then what are the S2 and S3 in these items, right? And then that's how I can look at any data ticket. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if I've ever seen it before or not. I can look at this data ticket and say, this isn't quite as good as what I have. I better not use it. Well, these characteristics, it says it gives me TA chance and TA power plus 30. That's pretty good, right? Well, what am I getting on my current top? I'm getting limit break power plus 30. Limit break power is extremely important. So I probably don't want to sacrifice that for some extra TA because I'm already getting 50% TA damage and power as it is, right? So once I combine this kind of basic gear knowledge with the knowledge of where I would like to go, it doesn't really matter if I've seen a ticket or not. It's a matter of, okay, I've got this ticket, I should check it to see what the S1, S2, and S3 is. Is it better than what I have? And if the answer is yes, I should take a look at my gear, figure out what slots I like better from the new gear, what slots I want to keep, and then think about finding a spiritual infuser to mix those slots for me, right? For example, this Masa rifle. This is an extremely useful item to have. But the S3 is not actually very useful to a player damage character just as it comes. So what I did was took this other rifle here. It's in Japanese, I don't know what those kanji mean. But that rifle had an S3 which gave damage to haunts plus 20%, which is, okay, we'll take it. But then it also gave this rapid and shot damage multiplier down here. And so I said that's much better than this default S3. So I'm going to take it, right? I'm going to take that because it's better. I'm going to keep this S1 and this S2, but I'm going to ditch the S3 and use this new one. So really, I want you guys to think about your gear in terms of slots. Not so much just, oh, I got a rifle, it's an awesome rifle. No, you need to think about what is this rifle's S1? What is this rifle's S2? What is this rifle's S3? How does it synergize with other items in my inventory? As a general rule of thumb, your S1s will be the things that carry your build, and then the S2 and S3s will be the things that enhance it. So for example, I'm running this Lost Country set. I have to have all 4 of these gear pieces sharing the same S1 to get 20% limit break and final crit plus 10, right? And then this is my comp and my arm piece. It gives me this damage here and this limit break chance plus 5. And then I have my true Weiss set, which gives me a bunch of amazing power while I'm digied. 40% final crit while digied. That's amazing. That's really good final crit chance while digied, especially in the current build. So the rest of my gear is built around this. I find out what S1s I absolutely can't live without, and then I go and add better S2s and S3s as I find them. Now again, as you play the game longer and you become aware of more data tickets, you'll know things. Like for example, my ring here, the Christmas Citron ring and the Woglinde ring plus 5. Everybody knows about these 2 rings and the bonuses they give. So immediately once I got this set bonus, my next attention turned to, Let me find those rings so that I can swipe the S2 and the S3 off of them and enhance what I have here. Right? It makes sense? Because I'm thinking in terms of slots, basic features, characteristics, and set bonuses. I'm not just thinking about I have this shiny ring here. I'm thinking about I have this S1, what S2 and S3 would I like for it? So that's just kind of a basic tutorial on how to approach gear, how to approach data tickets, what spiritual mixing is. If you need to find a spiritual mixer, what you want to do is just go here in Babel and go in your shout. Go to shout and just type looking for SI. And eventually one will respond, and they'll probably want you to meet at the dwarf. There is a small fee for synthing, or not synthing, for spiritual mixing. I usually try to give the SI a little extra because they're really a cornerstone of the community in that they provide gear that everyone can use. They mix it together and they make people stronger. So, ask the SI who does your job for you, how much is this going to cost you, and then throw them in a little extra on top until you kind of get a hang of what it costs and what you need to be tipping and those sorts of things. Sometimes they'll offer to do it for free, so if you're in dire straits, you might take that. But do try to give back to your SIs in the community on whatever server you play on, because they really do help out a lot. A few things to note about SI. Most SIs understand that if you're asking for one, you expect 100% success chance, but that is not always possible. There are some bad eggs out there who SI with less than 100% chance because they think they should get away with it. About a week ago, my True Weiss top died. Completely lost it, became completely useless. Had no idea why. Here it is, here's the broken one, right here. If I can find the basic info. Yeah, see down here, expired. So if an SI expires, your item will get an expiration date on it, and you have 30 days to re-SI it with something else, or the item becomes dead. It's unusable, broken forever. And so you can see this was a very strong piece of gear I had here, and it was completely worthless. And when it died, it also wrecked my main SI bonus. So guys, just kind of think about these things. Think about SI. If you have more questions, hop over to our server and ask. I'll be glad to help you. But thanks for checking out this tutorial on spiritual mixing.